Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this. This is MMA AM. That's half morning show, half MMA show. Pretty much all BS. I'm LK from Kocosports.net, and I'm joined by Dion from SOS Wrestle Talk. Dion, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Okay, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm living the dream one day at a time. Today on the show, we're going to be talking a little bit of a preview of the UFC Fight Night show on Fox Sports 1 on Saturday. Going to talk about the news of Jon Jones. Also going to talk about a little bit of news that I just read, and I very rarely get these actually news sent to me. It was from got his name fucking wrong, Masvidal. If you remember, he was on the fight card last weekend.
Yeah, I remember.
And
he
he,
fought Cerrone, right?
yeah, he battered him. Well, he didn't batter him. It took 2 rounds, but he still got the win. But the Cerrone needs to stop fighting every fucking weekend. Like, it's like, when you pull up a fight card, you're like, okay, there is a 75% chance Cerrone is going to be on this fight card.
Dude, I bet you he's like, he's like a fight addict. Honestly, what he does, like people are addicted to drugs. Some people are addicted to sex. He's just like, hey Dana, man, give me a fight, man. I need another fight. He's like, nah, bro, you need to chill for about May, June. You can come back about then. So Cowboy's a warrior, but take a couple months off, man. You burned it. Because you're fighting, like you said. Okay, he's always fighting.
It's insane. He needs time to recover and rest and train. The guy's a mental nutcase. Spend time with your family. What are you doing? Anyway, he was talking about the bet, and he's actually legit had a $200,000 bet with Dana White that he can't find nobody in the welterweight division that can beat him.
Wow, that'd be that's. I don't know. I want to say that's writing a check that you're asking in cash, but dude, look what you got in the welterweight division. You got some heavy hitters in that welterweight division, man. You got I like to call him the Brazilian straitjacket Demian Maia, who's sitting there ready, waiting for a title shot. He's awaiting the winner of Wonder Boy and Ty Woodley. So I mean, you got some monsters in that division. So I don't know. That's a hefty bet, my bro. I don't know. What do you think about that? Okay.
It depends who he's fighting against, because if he's like the champion Tyron Woodley, he could be against Robbie Lawler. It's just very interesting to see a guy be that confident. And is this, again, we talked a lot about on the show yesterday about how much MMA takes from pro wrestling. If this is actually just a work and he's just saying that just to get a bit of buzz about him, because there is faces and heels in MMA, especially on UFC. He's just being a heel. I like it. I think that, we'll see when we get his next fight, but he heavily moved up the rankings from the UFC on Fox 23. He really has moved up the rankings. We'll talk about that a lot more later on in the show. But let's get down to business. We're going to do the UFC on Fox Sports 1, the Fight Night show that takes place this Saturday. We'll cover the prelim, because the early prelim on the Fight Pass, we have Danielle Jolly versus Kali Rountree and Alex Morono versus Nico Price. Do you know any of those fighters? And B, do you think they'll be good fights?
I'm really not too familiar with any of these two young guys. I know they're up, on the up and come up, and yeah, I believe I'm checking some stuff. Let's see how reliable the old Wiki machine is. Morno is his record is he's 14-3 right now with 4 wins by knockout, 5 by submission, 3 by decision, 1 by DQ, which is interesting to see what happened in that one. But he has 1 loss by knockout and 2 by decision. So they really don't have any information on his opponent Nico Price, but I mean, I'm always interested to see how guys who I haven't seen before, what they bring to the table. So I'll be interested to check it out.
Yeah, with this card, because unlike with the UFC on Fox, I only caught the main card, but I realized my bad. I think I should really check out these early prelim guys so I can know what to expect when they come up and move on to the main card. But then we go to the proper prelim card. We have Chris. This guy just created this name just to butcher me. We have Chris Grutzmasaka versus Chaz Skelly. Beck Rawlings versus Taika Torres, Ricardo Lucas Ramos versus Michinori Tanaka. That sounds like Michinoku Tanaka. Then Curtis Blades versus Adam Milstead. And again, I'm new to MMA, ladies and gentlemen, so I apologize to box those names. This year, since I've joined the Kocosports staff properly, 110%, I'm Kocosports nowhere else. And I do news, YouTube as well. I've kind of had to get into MMA. And I looked around, and there is some MMA shows, but I want to do a daily MMA show and a daily wrestling show. So that's why the change in name to Wrestle AM and MMA AM. So you just got to bear with me and let me establish who these fighters are and, you know, kind of get to know them a little bit. So I think give me a month or two and I think I'll know these fighters properly. But again, this is the prelims. Do you know any of those 8 fighters, and do you think there's going to be a fight that'll be stand out in that bunch?
In the prelims, I'm familiar with pretty much both the women fighters, Teca Torres and Beck Rawlings. And what's crazy is necessarily love-hate relationship. You know, would fall, you know, watch MMA a lot, and like sometimes I would not watch it, and like I'm back into watching it heavily again. And honestly, most of these guys and girls, I find them because of UFC too. And then like, you know, I end up, you know, picking up and playing them on the game, and then like I'll end up checking their, you know, out and checking them out in real life. And that's how I became familiar with both these women in the strawweight division. And Beck Rawlings is a heavy-handed striker. She did have a contest where she lost recently to Paige Van Zandt by, it was kind of like a Karate Kid-esque style crane kick. It was pretty cool, but Beck Rawlings is a pretty good stand-up here, and her opponent, Teca Torres, is no punk either. She Taekwondo, Muay Thai fighter, and she has Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background, so I mean, it should be an interesting fight. So, man, if you had to pick me, if you had to ask me who I think wins that fight, I got to go Beck Rawlings. I'm a little bit familiar with her style, and I just think she is kind of a little bit more hungry. I think she wants that title shot for the strawweight division, so I'm going to go with Beck Rawlings in that fight.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, the Teca Torres is ranked 6th in the women's strawweight division, where she's not even ranked in here. She's generally not ranked.
That's the funny thing about it. This is like, I think was it the UFC card, 205? It was Miesha Tate was like ranked 4th, and I think her opponent, Raquel Pennington, was maybe ranked like 11, 12. She wasn't ranked very high, and she kind of pretty much she pretty much smashed Miesha Tate, you know, and it was like, yeah, I don't want to say that UFC rankings are bullshit, LK, but in a way, UFC rankings are kind of bullshit.
Yeah, we spent about 10 minutes talking about that, because I was talking about how when I watch the fights, I love the rankings, and I wish more wrestling promotions did the rankings. But with the rankings, it kind of means you're emotionally attached to every single match. Like, they're not going out there and fighting just for the sake of fighting. Every match is important, whether there's a personal issue, whether there's a story or a comeback like we got in the main event. It's not. There's rankings every single fight, so every fight counts, which is why wrestling should really pick up on that.
I agree. Wrestling should definitely add the ranking system. I think the ranking system is definitely a good way to go about stuff. I think the one thing that's just flawed about, well, I know you're kind of noticing now, but people who used to watch, you know, MMA back in the day, you know, maybe 5, 10 years ago, if they had that ranking system, it would definitely be more defined. Like, okay, this guy's number 1 contender, this, you know, who number 2 contender, whatever. And I think they kind of sometimes just kind of like, okay, well, this person's a contender, or, you know, a top contender, or this person. And sometimes I think like it's off of fight skill, but then sometimes I think it's necessarily off of popularity. You know what I mean? So that's why I think like the ranking system is good, but I think it's flawed because I don't think they rank properly. If I'm speaking ill right there, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I agree. And I think some of the times they do themselves disjustice where they have the number 1 fighter ranked anyway, and you're expecting, okay, he's going to fight the champion or she's going to fight the champion, but then it's actually ranked number 3 who gets to fight the champion. So what's the fucking point of having the rankings if your number 1 isn't going to fight the champion? But it's just a strange one. And we'll move on to that. We'll talk about the rankings a lot more in a minute. Then we go to the main card. We have Jessica Andrade versus Angela Hill. What's your prediction on that one?
Jessica Andrade, man, I'm familiar with her too. She's from Brazil. She has a 20-5 record. Man, she's fighting in that strawweight division. Fighting in that strawweight division, excuse me. Man, this one's kind of a tough one for me because I'm pretty familiar with Angela Hill too, and you know what, I'm gonna have to throw Angela Hill in this fight. You know, I think Angela Hill's on up and come up. You know, and I think Jessica Andrade, I haven't really seen her fight in a while, so it kind of becomes like you have fighters in the UFC, like sometimes, like you said, like Donald Cerrone, super active. They'll fight in like every 2 months. And then you have fighters that were like, whether it be injury or what may have you, they just are not as active, and she's just not really that active to me. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, you know, I'm wrong a lot, but I mean, I'm gonna go with Angela Hill on that one.
Again, interesting. Oh, sorry, if I can break my chair there. Interesting that, again, Jessica Andrade is in rank number 5 in the women's strawweight, and the other bird, Angela Hill isn't even in the top 15 by rankings. And I don't understand, especially on the main card. Like, to me, when I look at that, not as a hardcore MMA fan, just as an MMA fan for now. I'm going to get hardcore once I learn all my shit. But to me, that looks like, okay, they're just getting Jessica Andrade a win so she can move up, same as Torres can move up. But it also could mean a huge underdog story, and I like that. I'll be definitely 110% rooting for Angela Hill because I like that underdog story. Like, I'm a huge kicker for that. Like, if she gets that win, that could burst her into the top 15 and make her a star, especially on, Fox Sports 1 on a fight night. It's going to do good numbers. That's good for her. So I'll be rooting for her on that one.
Yeah, no, I'm pulling up. I'm looking at the pound for pound, or not the pound for pound. I'm looking at the rankings right now. But yeah, you're right, man. She's number 5, and yeah, I mean, if Andrade wins that fight, I think it'll definitely probably be by knockout. I definitely see her knocking her out. And I don't know, this Angela Hill, like she has 8 fights here. So I mean, you could be right about that. I mean, maybe I was just, talking on my ass, but she's a super striker. So I mean, if she keeps it standing with Andrade, who knows what can happen? I mean, she can drop her. So I mean, you never know. So I'm sticking with my pick of Angela Hill. She has a nice funky hairdo. I always like stuff like that. So I'm gonna stick with Angela Hill. If she's gonna pull an upset. I'm going with 2 upsets so far. So
what about Anthony Hamilton versus Marcel Fortuna?
And that let me see. Is that in the welterweight division?
Yeah.
Anthony Hamilton versus that. All right. So with that one, like I said, welterweight division is so open, man. It's so wide open, and I might say Anthony Hamilton here. And I think he might get him second round here. TKO strikes. That's my ballpark prediction right here.
I'm looking and I can't find any of these guys in any rankings. Like, I was making sure that I didn't get the division right.
No, and
I'm looking here and I can't find them in any rankings. That's unbelievable. See, that shocks me again. I thought that the main card you would just get your top 15 fighters in there. That shocks me. That's really shocking. And then we're going to move on. We have Abel.
I got like a little bit. Oh, they said Anthony Hamilton. He has he has 21 fights, 15 wins, 6 losses. So I mean, he's really the only one. I can't really find any information like you said on the other guys, man. This is pretty weird. UFC, are you just bringing these guys off the street? Are you just bringing these guys for these fight night cards? Be honest.
Are they? Excuse me. The site you're on, does it give background on their whole MMA career or just UFC?
Their whole MMA career. I'm just pulling what I'm going off of. I'm going strictly off of the most reliable source on internet, Wikipedia. So I mean,
okay, that's a strange one then.
Yeah, like
maybe they just see something in Anthony Hamilton. They want him to get a nice easy win.
That's what I'm thinking, because Marcel Fortuna, his opponent, he's not really like. And what's crazy is on the main card here on Wikipedia, Marcel Fortuna and the Vulcan. Oh God, they gave us 2 names. They're fucking crazy. Ozendemir, Vulcan Ozendemir. He's versus Obis St. Preux. And I think most of these fights, I just don't want to say this, but like, I think some of these guys, the name guys and the girls, I think they're just trying to, maybe, I don't want to say in a wrestling term squash match, but they're just pretty much giving them, hey, we're giving you some fighters here. You might get clipped up, but you should win this fight. That's pretty much what I'm saying. That's what I'm seeing here.
And I guess with that, it will also allow the unknown fighters to become known and then be able to use them in UFC more. So it's actually a really smart strategy from UFC. You have your main UFC star versus the unknown, and that unknown, if he beats the regular star, he can then also become a regular star. I think that's a great, easy way to build a star. I really do. And then we'll move on. We have Abel Trujillo. Mate, what's he coming up with names like that for? Versus James Vick. I want James Vick to smash his head in just because of his name. Abysmal.
What's crazy about we're gonna call him Abel. He's on a 3-fight win streak here. He defeated Gleason Tabal. But that was actually by disqualification, which was overturned because the guy tested positive for some sort of steroid substance, so that was overturned. And that was actually in 2015, and he beat Tony Sims by guillotine choke in the first round of UFC Fight Night or UFC 195, excuse me. And he beat Jordan Rinaldi by a unanimous decision at UFC Fight Night Armada versus Garbrandt. So he's on a 3-fight win streak here. And James Vick, this regular old James Vick, this name we both pronounce the easiest day. He's 9-1, and he actually just lost his first fight at June 16th at UFC 199. It was a punch. So, I mean, both these fighters here, it's kind of like you got a guy on a 3-fight win streak. You got a guy who just lost his first fight. Something's got to give, you know, and I don't know. That's a tough one.
That'll be interesting to see how he rebounds then. It'll be very interesting to see how he rebounds from taking the loss.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with this. Because, I mean, and it's like, who's hungry at this point? It's like, is the man hungry who just got his first defeat, or is this guy eager to keep his fight win streak going? So, I'm gonna pick James Vick. I'm gonna pick Vick here. I think Vick gets off the snide of his win-loss, and I think he rebounds here, and I think he gets the victory.
I'm going to pick James Vick simply because I couldn't pronounce his name. Then we go to another guy who really doesn't like me, Volkan Ozdemir. I think that was okay. But this is Ovin St. Pierre. I know Ovin St. Pierre, so I didn't have a problem not butchering his name. I think that's going to be a victory for St. Pierre. I really, really do. I think he's going to get a win here.
I really do.
What is the? Let me get the other guy up. What's his name? Volkan Ozdemir. Let's see if he's even... No, he's not in the top 15. So again, you got number 6 ranked versus a guy not in the ranked, but you're on a different site to me. So what is Mr... There's his second name, Ozdemir. What's his fight record recently?
Let me go ahead. And Wikipedia actually does not have anything up with this guy. So I'm actually just going to put him in an old Google machine and see what's up with him and see what's his MMA record. Because... if Wikipedia doesn't have anything on you, that's pretty and I guess his nickname, guys, by the way, is Cousin. So Volkan's cousin Ozdemir. He's fighting out of Switzerland. Record. I'm trying to see this dude's. Have you ever fought before? Oh, his MMA record is 12-1. He's on a 2-fight win streak. His last fight was in April of last year.
April of last year. Damn, he's gone nearly. He ain't talking no Cerrone, is he? Jesus, he ain't fighting ever. Poor bastard.
No, he's never fighting, dude. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. You got dudes or chicks who like fight, once a year, maybe twice a year. Then you got guys like you said, like Cowboy, they're like fighting, like trying to fight 5-6 times a year. And it's like. You got to have a healthy medium, I guess, man. But, man, that one time a year ain't going to do it. I guess his last fight was a win. So, I don't know, man. Of course, he's here I think. And he's a natural heavyweight. So, I don't know if SP is moving up to the heavyweight division or, he had to cut weight to, go down to the, light heavyweight division. But if he had to cut weight to go down to the light heavyweight division, that's actually definitely he did cut weight to go to the light heavyweight division, so that's going to be a huge disadvantage to him if he's naturally a heavyweight. So
has he moved down? Has he moved down full time now? Or is it just for this one fight? Do you think?
I'm going to think it's going to be just for this one fight. If he fights in the UFC again, he probably go back down or go back up to heavyweight. But I guarantee it's just for this one fight. And it might even been. I don't want to be in the speculation, but it might even need somebody just to come in and fight because maybe somebody got hurt or. I bet you I'm going to go ahead and guarantee that somebody got hurt on one of these fights because for not to be a lot of information on a lot of these guys and girls, it's kind of weird. So I don't know.
Yeah, but then he's on the rankings for light heavyweight. He's ranked number 6, and that's a good division. You got Cormier and Johnson who are fighting at UFC 210. Sorry. I don't know. I think St. Pierre's going to get the win, and I think he's going to move up. I really do. And I think you got a decent... I like the light heavyweight division. You got Jones, you got Cormier, you got Johnson, you got St. Pierre. You got a decent damn division, Corey Anderson. I really do like the light heavyweight division. It could be one of my favorite divisions.
The light heavyweight division, too, because like you said, he gets a win here. I mean, I'm not saying he get depending on the next fight he get, if he can put a string of wins together, he might be in a, talk for a title shot. So, I mean, and it starts with a victory here. So...
Exactly.
Go get it.
And then there's Alexo Grasso versus Felice Herrig. Again, you got the typical Alexa Grasso, who's ranked 12 in the women's strawweight division, versus the unknown of Felice Herrig. When I say unknown, she's not in the top 15 rankings, and it's shocking. But I guess you can't just do rankings versus ranked every single time, because otherwise no one new is going to ever come up. So I'm interested in that one. I think I'm going to stay safe though with Alexa Grasso. She's ranked 12, so she's got something to prove. Like I think when they're below ranked 10, I think when they go out mentally, they're like, oh shit, we have to prove something. We have to get in the top 10 to potentially get myself a title fight. So I think the ranked 12 in this strawweight division, which is also having like 3 matches during this show, you know, Torres could lose and then she could move up. Andrade could lose, she could move up the ranking. So I think this is a really important match for Grasso to win. Really important.
I'm glad you said that, because one, not only is how you called the lady Bird earlier, I was gonna call her homegirl. I was gonna call her homegirl. How Alexa Grasso, she's 9-0 right now. So I mean, she's ranked 12. She's gonna be moving up in the rankings. And how you made the claim about there's a lot of strawweight fights on this card as far as the women's strawweight division. Well, I always pronounce her name wrong. I call her JJ. Joanna, the champ. Joanna Jez.
Oh, Jed Reskigakuk.
Yeah, exactly. Her. She's pretty much almost on the verge of cleaning out this division. So they kind of need some influx of new talent to see what they have, you know, to see who's going to be next for a title shot, because the UFC honestly now has become like WWE, and what I mean by that is they have certain, you know this, they have certain people who they want to push and who they want to be stars and they want to win fights. Like in the strawweight division, they clearly wanted Paige Van Zandt to be the next champion, to be the next star, because Joanna, she's a great fighter, but she might not translate over to, you know, the typical American MMA audience, the people who like MMA. Paige Van Zandt does, and she fits, you know, the appeal and how, you know, the look of somebody who wants them to be like, hey, that's what I like. So I think with that is just like, all right, they push the wrong people, and when they fail, it's just like, okay, they scramble to be like, I'm not saying that Paige has failed because she's still a fighter, but when they, you know, have like, you know, stumblings or whatever, they like start to scramble and be like, okay, what we got to do, because pretty much that was going to be our next challenger for her. And the girl who beat her pretty much is really not ready to fight Joanna right now. So we got to have something to build this division up. And that was my long-winded answer about the strawweight division. But, you know, I don't know.
No, I like that. I'm glad that there's a lot of strawweight division, because I really enjoyed on Fox 23, the UFC, the other day. I really enjoyed the women's match and I said yesterday that I don't know why I just get emotionally attached to the women that were involved. I think it's because it was the main event and it was the big fight, and you know, Shevchenko won and all that, and she's fighting Nunes for the title. I can't remember exactly what pay-per-view, if it is going to be on pay-per-view exactly. But these women matches, I have no idea why. I just care a lot about them, because when I see them fight, I kind of cringe a little. And I mean to be sexist in no stretch of the imagination.
Oh, for sure.
It's just when I watch it and I see that these beautiful women getting punched in the face, it's kind of like, oh. Compared to when the men are getting punched, I'm like, yeah. There's a big difference. And I think those emotions, because they're different, make the fights feel different, and then it's a nice change. But main event.
I think the women go a little harder sometimes. I think because I feel that we all know Dana didn't really want there to be women's MMA in the UFC in any way. So I think they still feel like at any point, especially without Ronda Rousey now, that their job might be on the line. So it's like they kind of feel like they have to go harder than the dudes go at any point in time, because, you know, it's just like, and Dana White could be like, hey, we want to cut this division. I mean, he probably would. He wouldn't do that, but I'm just saying he could say that. And I just feel like they feel they have to go harder than the guys, because they feel like the guys are always going to be there. So that's you know, I don't know. That's what I think about that.
Well, he's also announced that there's the women's featherweight division coming up shortly, and I think that division has just been made for Cyborg.
Yep.
What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, but she's right now under USADA, the drug policy and all that stuff right now. So it's kind of like that division has 2 fighters, and the 2 fighters that they have are fighting for the title right now. And
is that literally so their rankings is going to be 1 and 2 and no champion and 1?
Yeah, pretty much. And it's like, okay, like, I mean, I love Holly Holm, you know, but she's on a 2-fight losing streak, and she really shouldn't be fighting for any title right now. And Jermaine Durandame, she just lost to Amanda Nunes, so she shouldn't be fighting for a title. So I'm like, okay, like that's where this WWE stuff comes in with the UFC. It's like, all right, now we see what you're doing, and okay, I get it. You want to have a women's featherweight division. We understand. We know you can't use Cyborg right now, so I just was like, well, you could just keep it on hold until she's, because I mean, you don't. Nobody's really. I mean, we're not hurting for a women's featherweight division right now. It can be on hold. It would be all right if we waited till she came back.
Yeah, there's no need for it. Maybe they just wanted to make history for like WWE's for the sake of making history. Then we go main card. Our main event, sorry, of the evening. We got Dennis Bermudez versus the Korean Zombie Chan Sung Jung. What are your thoughts on this one? Part of me is like, it's different from like wrestling terminology, ring rust. I don't know if MMA is or not, but I don't think there's going to be ring rust for a guy who's been in the army, who's been fighting, and he was a fighter before, having a great match with Garcia. I don't think that he's going to come back and be rusty. You either have it or you don't. Yeah, what's your opinion? I find it difficult because at one point I'm like, okay, Dennis Bermudez, he's ranked number 9. It could be a tough fight, but I see this as, okay, there's pressure now on Chan Sung Jung because this fight is all about him. Well, and I don't mean to be harsh to Bermudez here, but this fight is him, his return. So if he loses, maybe he might not get another shot. So whereas Bermudez, if he wins, it's a win-win situation. If he loses, he only loses to, the legend who's come. Well, he's not a legend, the returner. Whereas Bermudez, if he wins, he's going to bump up those rankings because that is a big guy he just beat. And the name value of him more than the actual fight itself will go up because, Bermudez, that's the guy who defeated the Korean Zombie. But I'm going to go for it. BJ Penn returned. He got beaten by Yair Rodriguez. I'm also going to go against Bermudez. I think, I know it's different because he was in the army and he's come back after that injury. I just really think Bermudez is going to win here. I got that gut feeling, but I might be wrong. Because when I watched the BJ Penn Yair Rodriguez fight, I'm like, okay, Penn's going to sweep this guy up. Penn did not. And I know there's a huge difference between Rodriguez and Bermudez. I just see this as a more important, people are seeing this as Chan Sung Jung, and Burmudez is going to have a chip in his shoulder and say, hey, look, don't forget about me kind of thing. And I think that could motivate him to get the win.
All right, well, my friend, we're good friends, but I'm going to have to disagree with you. I'm going to go to Korean Zombie here. And normally, like you said, like the ring rust or cage rust might play a factor, but he was off serving in the army. It wasn't like that he was just off, planting flowers and, just hanging with the family, so he was doing probably, rugged stuff. So, and then with, like you said, the menace, man, it's a tough fight because he's going to take this guy down. He's going to slam him to the ground. He's going to ground him. He's going to grind him. He's going to pretty much just make it just a rough night for the Korean Zombie. And this pretty much just, like sometimes me and my friends say for wrestlers when the UFC, they blanket and just kind of lay on them for a little bit, punch them occasionally, but pretty much lay on them and just, grind them some. But no, I think the Zombie knows what's up, man. I think he's hungry here, and I think he probably gets taken down in the first couple bits of the first round, but I think he comes back, and I think he TKOs in the second round.
Depends if he can get up.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true.
If it's not, if the fight stays on the ground, I think he's got him. But if it doesn't stay on the ground, and if it doesn't stay on the ground and he can't get him to the ground, then Jung's got this for sure. But we'll talk about a little bit of news.
Jung does have underrated submission game, so I mean, so I mean, hey, go either way. I'm excited for it. So
I guess it just depends how he's been training. I'm going to get a little bit to the news, and then if you're here for the Wrestle AM show, that'll begin in about 20 minutes. So we have Yair Rodriguez. We just talked about him, kind of. He shrugged off comments about Conor McGregor talk, but vows if they ever fought, he would kick his ass.
Oh God, that's hilarious. He's very unorthodox, man. Like what he did to BJ Penn was, and BJ Penn is like my favorite fighter of all time. So what he did to BJ Penn was just gnarly. I don't know about him saying he can kick his ass or not. I know he has an unorthodox style. I can speak English, I swear. But man, Hey, that left hand is deadly, especially the featherweights, man. He's still a big boy down in that featherweight division, Conor McGregor. So
Yeah, exactly. And you got Jose Aldo and Max Holloway. You know, Max Holloway, the interim champion, Aldo, the current champion. That's a great fucking division. We were talking about that earlier. We were saying what a great division it is. There's also that division as well, which is the featherweight division, which is also a great fucking division.
it's put together. And right division, the Conor's a champ of right now. The lightweight division is an awesome division too, man. I mean, you got what is it in March? Yeah, March. You got Khabib getting ready to fight you're right, fight El Kakui, Tony Ferguson, man. I'm super excited for that fight. I mean, I'm not trying to give too much away for that one, but I'm picking Tony Ferguson for the upset, man. Like people will talk about like I respect Khabib's game, but to me, Khabib is not a complete MMA fighter. He's going to take you down. He's going to ground and pound you, and if he's going to maybe try to get the submission at the end. I don't know if you saw the fight with him and Michael Johnson, but that fight with Michael Johnson showed that if he can't take you down and you forced to stand up with him, he can be slept. He can be put to sleep. So I just feel Tony Ferguson is a more well-rounded fighter, and I'm excited to see that fight. But yeah, I'm early prediction with that one. I'm going Tony Ferguson with that.
Fair enough. And we're going to talk about two step ups in the rankings or moves up. So we had Masvidal, who we touched on earlier. He's moved up to number 5 from 12 after his win against Mr. Non-Stop Fighting Cerrone. And also Ngannou has moved up to number 6 from 10 after defeating Arlovsky. And we covered that yesterday on MMA AM, so check out if you want to hear our thoughts on that. But that's a good jump. I think I think Ngannou is going to be a threat, but it'll be interesting to see because he's still quite green. It'll be interesting to see how he does against those top 5 fighters, and will they risk, because he's obviously a guy who's starting to become a star. Will they risk putting him in there? Because if he puts him in there, and he does well, okay. But what happens if he can't swim with the sharks? And he fails and he gets knocked out? That's a potential star he lost because he's too green and not well polished enough. But it could do good numbers and could be a good fight. Whereas Masvidal, dude, the guy's got a good mouth, good promo, great fighter. I see good things for this guy.
Yep, he's definitely on the radar for that welterweight title, man. And like I said, the welterweight division this is wide open, and then you got waiting in the wings. I don't know if he's retired or not, if he's not deciding to fight or whatever, but you still got Nick Diaz waiting in the wings if he ever decides to come back and fight. So, I mean, welterweight division is pretty stacked as well, man. And it's I don't know, are they retired? I don't know what they're doing, but these divisions are pretty much put together with the exception of not the bantamweight, with the exception of the male not strawweight, but Demetrius Johnson division. That's what I'm gonna call it, the Demetrius Johnson division. He dominates that division. That's the only division that's okay, we know who's winning this.
Yeah, it's just give him luck. And then we move on quickly to our Bellator 175 that's going to take place, where are we? March 31st. It's been announced for the Chicago All-State Arena. And it features King Mo versus Rampage Jackson. King Mo right now, let me have a quick look here. He's on a 7 winning streak.
Oh, wow.
Including a title victory and a successful defense in the UFC. But King Mo's coming off to a TKO against Micro Krokop. But he was on a 7-fight streak as well. But again, he was stopped by light heavyweight champion Phil Davis before, again, losing. So you got King Mo, who went on a 7 streak and now is on a 2 losing streak, compared to King Mo, who's on a 7 winning streak. Not King Mo Jackson, sorry, Rampage. It's different because the way this site's worded, it needs to be fucking fired.
No, it's fine, man. Those dudes, honestly, they pretty much are interchangeable. You can just kind of switch one out for the other, so it's okay. Don't feel bad. I do the same thing. I'm like, these are the same dudes to me. This is like if Ezekiel Jackson wrestled Titus O'Neil in wrestling terms.
No, it's not the same. It's the way the site worded it was just brutal. It was bad wording.
But yeah, you're right. Rampage is on a nice little winning streak, isn't he? He fought Mo before in 2014 they already fought, so it's this is the rematch, and it's King Mo, don't become the new Ken Shamrock in MMA. Please don't. you're getting your ass beat by everybody twice and 3 and 4 times. But I mean, what I think is going to happen in this fight, I think Rampage Jackson's going to beat him with a steel chair over the head and get the pin. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. But no, man, Rampage is obviously he's had a career rejuvenation. So why pick against him now? I mean, he probably has the code to solve King Mo, and yeah, man. I mean, I've never really been like a big King Mo fan myself. I mean, no discredit to the guy, but it's there. I've never really just been a fan of his style, and I think Rampage is gonna knock him out this time, honestly.
Yeah, it seems like though King Mo's going to be like you said, the Ken Shamrock. Like he lost to Koco, he's going to probably lose to Rampage Jackson if he's on a 7 winning streak, and he's on a 2 loss in a row. And he also lost to the Bellator light heavyweight champion, that being King Mo. I think this is going to be Rampage Jackson's fight. And then we move on to Jon Jones. He's expected to return to the octagon later this year, and it was announced by UFC President Dana White that he will face the winner of Daniel Cormier versus Anthony Johnson for the UFC Championship at UFC 210. Quite interesting.
Yeah, like I still consider him. I mean, people say, "Oh, well, he lost that fight by disqualification." In my eyes, he's never lost a fight. But I mean, he's been in trouble a couple of times in the fight, but he's never actually legitimately lost a fight. So I still consider him undefeated. But I mean, hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, and people claiming that he needs a tune-up match. Dana White also stated that everyone was moaning about Ronda Rousey having a tune-up match, and there's no tune-up fights because all the fighters are the best in the world, and all it takes is one bad night, and then he wouldn't get the title fight because he lost one night. So it's good to shove him in there. If he can hang, he can hang, and if he can't, he's gonna have to work his way back up. So I think that's a great way of doing with it. And UFC is still a marketing machine, and they can market a Jon Jones versus how many times you see Jon Jones, Daniel Cormier, and Anthony Johnson. I think it could be a really interesting one.
I agree. And if they want to put somebody with a tune-up fight, I mean, CM Punk's still under contract, so Ronda Rousey could have fought him. It'd have been just fine.
Yeah, just bloody chuck Jon Jones in there with Punk. Get the big money match done. So that's going to do it today for today's edition of MMA AM. I want to thank you, Dion, for joining me today.
It's okay.
Covering me here while I'm new to MMA. Every single time I have an MMA AM, I'm going to get a guest on. Yesterday, we had a guest from the MMAtakeover.com. Today, we have Dion from SOS Wrestle Talk. Do you want to promote? Do you want to plug yourself while I haven't?
Absolutely.
Yeah, plug yourself.
Well, you can find us at Twitter, SOS Wrestle Talk. Go there, go ahead and hit that follow button. We're also at SOS Wrestle Talk on Instagram. You can find the podcast on SoundCloud. Yeah, man, we just like this pro wrestling and MMA thing. We just gonna graciously pull LK into it, and then as we go along, we gonna get rid of these bitter bums, as Conor McGregor would say. And and this is keep going. So, all right, I gotta ask you this too. All right, so Bisping, do you like Bisping? Yeah or no?
That's tough. I like him. I like him. All right.
I respect him. I don't dislike him. I respect him immensely because I respect his fight game. So I can dig you on Bisping, because he definitely brought the UK name up for the UFC and MMA style. So I mean, he a legend. I give him his credit. So I just had to ask you real quick, as I was thinking about that.
Yeah, I don't know. He's quite old, isn't he, the poor bastard? But I do remember seeing him fight at a UFC pay-per-view. I think it was a year ago. I think it was either UFC 198 or 199. It was the one before 200, and he won the belt. Correct?
He beat Luke Rockhold.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And it was quite a shock, wasn't it? Correct to many people. Yeah, I remember that fight. I think he was entertaining to watch. It was a good underdog story. He's English, so I like him.
He's the champ right now. So I mean, champ is here, man. So yeah.
Exactly. So it can't be that bad. Again, thank you for joining me. We're about to go live, myself and Boom Booms with Wrestle AM. We're going to cover TNA Impact Wrestling that just aired, and I watched it before because I'm a cheeky little prick. Going to cover the news, talk more about Lucha Underground to Netflix, just cover the wrestling news. MMA AM will be back tomorrow. We're going to do another predictions for the UFC Fight Night 104, just so it can rattle in my brain who these fucking people are. Because again, I apologize for who is this fucking knobhead talking about MMA? I've just got into MMA. So I'm not going to know everyone and know all the statistics and facts. I'm just getting into it. That's why I'm having guests on so they can teach me. So I don't know who I'll have on tomorrow, but I'll have someone on.
Exactly. It's more and more you get involved into it. It's just like, man, just come just like wrestling, man. This is
Exactly.
So thank you for having me, though. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for coming on such short notice. It's like literally 90 minutes. You on? So I appreciate for you coming on such short notice. You'll be back on Sunday with our Wrestle AM for New Japan Pro Wrestling's New Beginnings show. We're going to recap that. I'm excited for that. So, oh, Jesus, someone obviously wants you out on the front door. So that being said, we'll be back tomorrow with another MMA AM. Kocosports.net is the place to be. Obviously, all the news, all the podcasts, that's the home. That's where you should go. Make it your homepage when you go onto Google. It should be your homepage. It's my homepage. Anyway, that being said, stay safe, everyone. Stay well. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch your asses down the line.